Good day, everyone. Today, our topic is all about pressure, its cost, effect, and its meaning in our climate. Our topic for this day is all about pressure, and I am your reporter for this day, Lyca Marie M. Dula from the BS Ed Social Studies 2A. But before we dig deeper to our main topic, I have here a video presentation explaining what is pressure. But before that, I have a guide questions that will guide you upon your watching.
Atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by the weight of the air on the Earth's surface. The atmospheric pressure can be measured by an instrument called barometer. The normal atmospheric pressure at sea level is about 76 centimeters of the mercury column in the barometer.
So in the video, it explains what is pressure. So here, pressure is indirectly significant as elements of weather and climate, but pressure exerts a profound effect on temperature and precipitation. Meaning to say, pressure is not directly affecting our climate, but it affects the temperature and precipitation. And this too is the most important or vital element of climate. But what is pressure? Pressure, according to the Climate NCSU, is also known as the atmospheric pressure. It is defined as the pressure or force exerted by the weight of the air on the Earth's surface. So pressure is the weight that the air exerted in the Earth. According to science, air has a weight, and this air that surrounds our Earth is called atmosphere. In order for you to know what is atmospheric pressure, let's define first what is atmosphere, because through this, we can connect what is atmospheric pressure or pressure is all about. So I have here a video presentation defining what is atmosphere. But upon watching the video, I have here a guide questions that you need to answer. And also, in order for you to have a primary ideas for our discussion.
The atmosphere is made up of a mixture of gases, mostly oxygen and nitrogen, that wrap around the Earth like a blanket. The air of our planet is 79% nitrogen and just under 21% oxygen. The small amount remaining is composed of carbon dioxide and other gases. Without the atmosphere, we will not be able to live here. Those gases protect us by blocking out dangerous rays from the sun and making Earth a perfect habitat for plants and animals. The Earth's atmosphere has 5 layers: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Atmospheric gases become thinner as you go higher. The troposphere is the lowest layer of the atmosphere. It begins at the surface and extends to between 7 kilometers, 23,000 feet, at the poles and 17 kilometers, 60,000 feet, at the equator, with some variation due to weather factors. This part of the atmosphere is the most dense. As you climb higher in this layer, the temperature drops from about 17 to minus 52 degrees Celsius. The troposphere is known as the weather layer since snow, wind, and rain stick to this layer. The stratosphere starts just above the troposphere and extends to 50 kilometers, 31 miles high. Compared to the troposphere, this part of the atmosphere is dry and less dense. The temperature in this region increases gradually to -3 degrees Celsius due to the absorption of ultraviolet radiation. The ozone layer, which absorbs and scatters the solar ultraviolet radiation, is in this layer. 99% of air is located in the troposphere and stratosphere. The mesosphere starts just above the stratosphere and extends to 85 kilometers, which is 53 miles high. In this region, the temperatures again fall as low as -93 degrees Celsius as you increase in altitude. The chemicals are in an excited state as they absorb energy from the sun. This is also where most meteors burn up when entering the atmosphere. The thermosphere starts just above the mesosphere and extends to 600 kilometers, 372 miles high. The temperatures go up as you increase in altitude due to the sun's energy. Temperatures in this region can go as high as 1,727 degrees Celsius. Chemical reactions occur much faster here than on the surface of the Earth. This layer is known as the upper atmosphere. The thermosphere also includes the ionosphere, a region which is filled with charged particles. The exosphere starts 500 kilometers above the Earth and is the highest layer. It starts at the top to the thermosphere and continues until it merges with the interplanetary gases or space. In this region of the atmosphere, hydrogen and helium are the prime components and are only present at extremely low densities.
So on the video, what is atmosphere? So the atmosphere is made up of the mixture of gases, mostly oxygen and nitrogen. So on the video, according to Apple series, one of the trusted site of science for kids, atmosphere is made up of a mixture of gases and it is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. So in the video presented, the air is made up of oxygen, which is 21%, and the nitrogen, which is 79%. But upon reading the subscription below, I found out that nitrogen is 78 in the air and not 79, and they clarify it as well. So moving on, the rest 1% is made up of carbon dioxide and other gases. Next meaning is atmosphere is the air that surrounds the earth. Yes, it is the air that surrounds our earth. So why atmosphere is important? Because without the atmosphere, we will not able to live in the earth, because those gases or air protects us by blocking out dangerous rays from the sun and making the earth a perfect habitat for plants and animals. But what are the following layers of the atmosphere, and why do we need to study it? So this is the different layers of the atmosphere: the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the exosphere. We need to study it because it has a connection to the air pressure. Because according or what is air pressure is it is defined as the weight that exerted on the earth. And because of these different layers of the atmosphere and because of this weight, air pressure exists. So let's define it one by one. So first, we have here the troposphere. So the troposphere is the lowest layer of the earth or the atmosphere, and it is started from the surface and extends to between 7 kilometer or 23,000 feet at the poles and 17 kilometer or 60,000 feet at the equator. It is also known as the weather layer, since snow, wind, and rain stick to this layer and the most dense layer of the atmosphere. So it is considered as the most dense layer of the atmosphere because it carries all the weight from above. Okay, next layer of the atmosphere is the stratosphere. So, the stratosphere defined as the layer that starts just above the troposphere and it extends to 50 kilometers above. It is dry and less dense. It is responsible to absorb the ultraviolet radiation, and because of that, the ozone layer is located in this layer. So, the stratosphere is considered as the most important layer of the atmosphere because it blocks the ultraviolet radiation that came from the sun, and because of it, we are safe and living in this earth. Moving on, we have the next layer, the mesosphere. Mesosphere is the layer that starts just above the stratosphere and it extends for 85 kilometers. The chemicals in this layer are in excited state as they absorb energy from the sun. This is also where the most of the mixtures burn up when entering the atmosphere. So in this layer, it is the most excited state of energy from the sun. So it is responsible in burning up different mixtures from the universe. Moving on to the next layer, we have the thermosphere. Thermosphere is the layer starts just above the mesosphere and it extends to 500 kilometers. So the chemicals reaction occur much faster here than the surface on the earth. This layer is known as the upper layer of the atmosphere. Moving on to the last layers of the atmosphere, we have the exosphere. So exosphere is the layer that is the highest among them all. It starts at the top of the thermosphere and continues until it merges with the interplanetary gases or space. So again, pressure is also known as the atmospheric pressure. It is defined as the pressure or force exerted by the weight of the air on the Earth's surface. So meaning to say, it is the weight that being exerted of the atmosphere. So those different layers of the atmosphere is very important to have this pressure and we need to study it in order for us to understand and to know what is pressure is all about. So what is the instrument being used to measure the air pressure? So the instrument that being used to measure the air pressure is a barometer. So barometer defined as a scientific instrument used in meteorology to measure atmospheric pressure. So the barometer has different types. First is the mercury barometer and aneroid barometer. So let's define this one by one. First is the mercury barometer. So mercury barometer is the oldest type of barometer. It was invented by the Italian physicist Evangelista Torricelli in 1643. So as a trivia, Torricelli conducted his first experiment using a tube of water. He used a very tall tube with a large amount of water to compensate of the weight of the pressure. It is at least 35 feet, which is a rose above his house. Because of it, his neighbor started to suspicion that he was involved in witchcraft, and witchcraft in that time is very sensitive issue. Because of this, or because of that incident, and also he wants to keep it secret, he deduced the size of his barometer, and instead of using water, he used mercury that weighed 14 times than water. So mercury barometer is defined as the glass tube that is closed at the top and open at the bottom. The mercury in the tube will adjust to match the atmospheric pressure above the dish. As the pressure increases, it forces the mercury up to the tube. Next type of barometer is the aneroid barometer. It is invented by a French scientist, Lucien Vede, in 1844. So, an aneroid barometer has a sealed metal chamber that expands and contracts. It depends on the atmospheric pressure around it. The aneroid barometer has a circular display that indicates the present number of atmosphere, much like a clock. The terms stormy, rain, fair, and dry are often written on the aneroid to make it easier for people to interpret the weather. So as you can see, the aneroid barometer is like a compass, but instead of direction, it portrays the weather and amount of pressure present in a particular area. Aneroid barometer slowly replaced the mercury barometer because it is more cheaper to buy and easier to transport since it has no liquid that could spill. And in order to record and track the changes in atmospheric pressure, some aneroid barometer use a mechanical tool to see the changes in an atmospheric pressure over a period of time. And this tool is called barographs. So barograph is to record the number of atmospheric pressure on the vertical axis and units of time on the horizontal. The spikes in the graph show when air pressure is high or low. A barograph is a tracking tool that will rotate. It is usually rotate once every day, week, or month, depending on what is the format of the barographs. Another type of barometer is brought by the changes in our time and also because of the arising technology. there is another barometer that can help and easier to use to measure the air pressure, and that is the digital barometer. So today's digital barometer measure and display complex atmospheric data in more accurate and quickly than ever before. So here in the Philippines, the instrument being used to measure air pressure are the following. We have the aneroid barometer, digital barometer, and some special instrument just like radio sonde that was according to Pag-asa. So radio sonde, it is an airborne instrument to use for measuring pressure, temperature, and relative humidity in the upper air. So it is the different instrument being used of the Pag-asa in order to measure the air pressure present in the Philippines. So we have here different types of air pressure. We have the high pressure and the low pressure. I know that most of you are very familiar in terms of low pressure. So let's define the two of them one by one. So first we have the high pressure. A high pressure system has a higher pressure as its center than the areas around it. When the air gets cold and becomes heavier, the descents down high pressure exists. You can expect cooler temperature and clear skies. So high pressure system is the complete opposite of the low pressure system. Here, the climate or the weather during high pressure is very clear and very good, and it is an ideal weather for all the people to have this vacation and many more. Next pressure system is the low pressure system. So at times of low pressure, the air is usually rising. As the air rises, it cools, condenses, and forms clouds. Areas of low pressure are known as depression. Yes, low pressure is very familiar to all of us because it is always been seen during when typhoon is coming. So low pressure is when the air usually rising, and it is because of the direct heat from the sun. So as the heat approaches the air, or the air, it rises up, and because of it, low pressure exists. So that's all for about the different pressure system in the Philippines and in the world. So that's all, and that's end my discussion for today. So again, when we say air pressure or pressure, or also known as the atmospheric pressure, it is the weight exerted of the atmosphere and the earth. And because of the atmosphere, we can live in this world. And because of the different layers of the earth or the atmosphere, the air pressure exists. So that's the end of my discussion. I hope you learned a lot.